So what we have here on this trailer here is actually a post hole auger, and on the bottom is where the auger would attach, and this whole thing cranks up and down with the handle to drill the post holes. But the problem with this one is that it's not running right and it can't hold a steady idle, either in low speed or high speed. Nowhere in the range will it hold a steady idle. I've done absolutely everything possible that I can to rule out everything else and to try to solve the problem. Obviously, I've cleaned and rebuilt the carb, put in new gaskets, dealt with spark plugs, dealt with the coil gap and flywheel, removed the head and cleaned everything out from in there, inspected the cylinder walls, look fine. I've even fixed some exposed wiring. Dealt with some mixture screw. This one actually doesn't have a mixture screw. That's not a mixture screw on this one. It's actually a restriction, like an air restrictor screw. Instead of a point on the end of that one, it's got a couple little holes, kind of like a jet. So there was a leak between the carb and the intake because somebody clamped it in a vise and left some deep gouges in there. So I resurfaced that head, and that is back to absolutely baby butt smooth. So that's all fine. Basically, what's going on here is in this throttle shaft here, there would be a butterfly flap or valve or whatever you want to call it that sits right in the center screen there on the inside of the carburetor. But if I move it back and forth, you can actually hear it clanking around in there, up and down a little bit too. So this thing has way too much free play in it. So what I suspected was that since there is so much free play, it's actually letting air in right there. And especially at higher RPMs when it's sucking more air, that's when it's really having trouble. And to verify this, what I'm going to do is when the engine is running and you spray some carb cleaner right around this area, if it's a good seal and there's nothing leaking there and it's not letting any air in, spraying carb cleaner around it will do absolutely nothing. But if it's a bad seal, then the carb cleaner will get in there and it'll get sucked in and travel through into the engine, and the mixture will be too rich for it to run, and it'll want to bog down. So I'm going to start it up, spray some carb cleaner in there, and we're going to see what happens. So this one is probably going to need a new carburetor. That's going to be the cheapest, quickest, best option for this engine.